Hey Gundam fans, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. I'm Adam Blue, and for today's episode, we're actually going to talk about Zeonic Front. This is a PS2 game that actually came out September 6, 2001. Very interesting date for it to come out. There were some video games during that time period, right around September 11th or after, that were delayed or canceled. A famous one was, I think, Propeller Arena on Dreamcast. That was played through emulation. Speaking of emulation, I was able to play this game through emulation because I don't currently have a PS2. But before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe. And if this video is cool, be sure to like it by the end of it. And if you haven't already, check out the link in the description for a giveaway that's going on. I'll be giving away two things here coming up. So yeah, check it out. Let's get going. So yeah, again, I haven't played this game in the past, and I'm trying to play a backlog of these Gundam games. And a lot of them are on PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and I just don't have those consoles anymore, and Sony hasn't been as good about backwards compatibility as, say, the PC or Microsoft's Xboxes. So I decided to emulate it to check it out, and there were some graphical issues with it, but overall I got a gist of it, and this was actually pretty fun, probably something I'd want to play through and complete. So I might need to get myself a PS2 or backwards compatible PS3 here in the future. Now, the game was pretty cool. So you have a training at the beginning with Char. You get to hear his voice. The voice acting's real good. You heal Garma too. And there's a lot of cool characters that we'll get to eventually. And really, this is a story, again, during the 1 Year War. A lot of these side stories we've been exploring that have these video game versions are during the 1 Year War. And so really, this is a group of mobile suit pilots for Zeon that came down ahead to invade Earth before the rest of the Zeon army. And first they were sent to support Garma in North America before heading south to Jaburo and taking that over, but then they also helped out Makuve. All right, and this group is called the Midnight Fenrir Corps. Very cool name. Fenrir, I think, refers to a Norse mythology wolf or fox, something like that. I've heard it in previous video games that dive into mythology and all that. And so what's very cool about this game is it focuses on the Principality of Zeon and their mobile suits instead of it being another Federation-focused game or story. But what's also very interesting here is we still get a unique, cool Gundam because, yes, I guess during the 1 Year War there wasn't a shortage of Gundams to be available shortly after Operation V. And so to kind of give a gist of the story, the team again is supporting North America, supporting Garma Zabi. That fails. They are supporting Makuve in Odessa. That fails, and Makuve just takes off. So they head back to California base because at this time Zeon at least had hold of North America and the California base. And shortly after that is when they went to go invade Jaburo, and obviously that didn't work out. But the Midnight Fenrir Corps stayed behind on purpose to protect the HLVs that were launching into space for whoever from Zeon could leave. And as we learned from the previous story, Rise from the Ashes, that a lot of the Zeons that were on Earth could not escape, and they actually they fled to Africa in order to hide out, and later becoming the Zeon remnants. And even a lot of these pilots become part of a group called Hammer of the Wolf, or Wolf's Hammer. So this is a group of Zeon mobile pilots that actually, I think, enacted this Operation Silverlance. I don't know too much about that yet, but I'll look into it for a future video. But this takes place afterwards, around 0084, when the Zeon remnants were just after the Delaz conflict, when they were just trying to do what they can to take back control. So a couple of these pilots here, we've got Gerhard Schmitzer. So this is one of the pilots we learn about in the game, and again, the game has voice acting to it. It has a lot of cool in-depth character development, and also if you were to play SD Generation Genesis, which is on Switch and PS4, it actually has this story incorporated into it, like a lot of these other side stories. So again, if you want to kind of dive deep into this story and the mobile suits being used, check out that SD Generation Genesis. I even have a video for how you can easily get that in English if you're interested. So he had a MS-05S Zaku 1 Commander type. So this is one of the suits he used. I kind of like this Zaku 1 Commander type. It reminds me of a Zuda, but it has more of that Zaku 1 look. It doesn't have the tubing or piping that the Zaku 2s have, but it has that nice little commander antenna there, and just gives off an awesome vibe. Blue Roar. So this is another character, or Roa. I don't know how I would pronounce that exactly. But anyway, another pilot from Zeon. He was in an MS-07A goof, and here's actually a shot of it from the game itself. It kind of has that low polygon count look to it, but actually the detail is very well done, especially for a 2001 PS2 game. And Matt Austin, another character, another Zeon pilot we get to learn about. But what's interesting is he only will use a Zaku 1. So that's kind of interesting. He doesn't like the older, or I'm sorry, he doesn't like the newer suits. I guess a lot of it has to do with his background and training, you know, with Zeon developing the mobile suit in the first place, kind of being on the ground floor with that type of weaponry. I guess he's real proud of that. And here is the rendition of his Zaku MS-05B Zaku 1 land warfare type. Again, kind of that low polygon count, but pretty good detail considering that this is a PS2 game. And then Sophie Fran. So this is another character that's a pilot for Zeon. Good mix there of getting some female pilots in there. And she's actually one that did join Hammer of the Wolf, the Remnants, along with another character we're going to look at here in just a second. Now, she piloted an interesting mobile suit. This is the MS-09F Dom Funf, or Funf. How would you pronounce that? That's very interesting. I don't know. But again, I mean, kind of a low res here. Let's see if there's any other ones. No, but basically, it's a cool looking Zaku themed Dom. And I guess it's an early version of a Dom that this was used as a basis of future ones. But kind of cool to see that type of mobile suit here, as it's really taking more of that military, that look that Zeon is known for with their Zaku 1s and Zaku 2s. And then we have Renchef, another character. He also joined that Wolf's Hammer group later on as part of the Zeon Remnants. Another character named Sandra. Again, I think she also joins Wolf's Hammer, but it's part of Gundam Legacy, which is a collection of short stories I'd like to dive into, where we're actually seeing a lot of these characters come back that actually didn't get killed off during the 1 Year War. Another one, Charlotte Hepner, again, another character that is in Gundam Legacy. And then Lee Swaggart, another one. Doesn't have too much information about him here, so I guess he just had an appearance, but not too much about him. And then Manning, almost looks like a Mukuve, just because he has that kind of slender look to his face, the purple hair, the kind of odd-colored skin there compared to some of the other characters. And then another character, Nikki Roberto. Again, another cool Zeon pilot, but he's also featured in another side story called Missing Link that I will get to in another video. Now, with the Principality of Zeon out of the way, here's kind of the main Federation character. His name is Agar, and doesn't really have a last name to him. Seems pretty cool. He used a Type 61 tank, but he's also the recipient of the Mudrock Gundam that we'll look at here in a second. So here's the RX-78-6 Mudrock Gundam. I first heard about this Gundam Battle Operation 2, obviously. That's where I've heard about a lot of these different type of Gundam units. But again, that we see, it's very interesting that during the 1 Year War, there were a lot of different Gundam prototypes. And, you know, the more I think about it, the more it makes sense, because Amuro wasn't supposed to be piloting the Gundam. He just happened to come across the RX-78-2. So, story-wise, I guess to explain it all, they were just testing this out in various places. It just happened to be where the colony it was at, where Operation V was at, but that they had then probably jumped into further production of these Gundams once they realized the potential that's there. And just looking at it, it's very cool, you know, what you see here. I guess there's a version that's armored and then unarmored. So yeah, there was this MSV drawing, which Mobile Suit Variations, way earlier than when these side stories came out. But they base a lot of the mobile suits and different weaponry from that. So it's kind of cool that it keeps kind of that in line, the canon. Speaking of cannon, it's got 2 on the shoulder. Awesome look. It's also a little more heavily armored. You know, I'm getting a lot of vibes of Alex as well, especially when it comes to the thrusters, you know, before it kind of evolves into what we get from the Mark II. So the Mudrock has the 60mm Vulcan gun, beam saber, 300mm cannon. So those are the 2 cannons. A grenade launcher on both forearms. It's got the beam rifle, actually a couple different beam rifles. A bullpup machine gun, hyper bazooka, a special type of shield, and a hyper hammer. So this thing was fully decked out. Oh, and they even have a re-illustration by, let's see, how do you pronounce his name? Hajime Kotoki, which did a lot of the later, like Verka style. Actually, we can look at this. Oh yeah, this is a very cool look for it, where they've kind of minimized that bulkiness, but you can still see that it has a little more bulk to it than a typical Gundam. Yeah, the more I'm looking at it right now, the more I am digging this and would love to get my hands on a model kit of this. But another cool and interesting sort of mobile suit that was in Zeonic Front is this RGM-79FD Armored GM. I mean, who doesn't want some more GMs or gems? So this one has a beam saber, the 90mm bullpup machine gun, 100mm machine gun, beam spray gun, another beam gun. It says beam spray gun yet again, hyper bazooka, 380mm rocket launcher, that AGD shield, which is interesting. I don't know too much about that. Let's, yeah, I guess the shield type is what we see on the later GM. So this is, yeah, what the Mudrock used. Yeah, and we see this one used quite a bit. So very cool. Now, special appearance by a Jugon-class submarine. Basically, a Zeon submarine was able to rendezvous with the Midnight Fenrir's Corps when they were trying to retreat, get away, because they were across all different fronts. And I guess that's why they call it Zeonic Front. We had North America, European, Central Asia, we had South America, and yeah, it got to a point where they needed help to kind of regroup and retreat somewhere else. That's where California base came in. So anyway, that is it for Zeonic Front. I definitely have to get my hands on a PS2 or backwards compatible PS3 in order to play this and finish it. Although the storyline in ST Generation Genesis is just as great. It's just, turn-based battles and all that. Also, it's cool that even though we get some custom Zeon Zaku's or mobile suits, we also get another Gundam, and it's a pretty cool Gundam. I do like the idea of having those shoulder cannons. I would love, again, if they do some sort of animation, like all these other side stories that seem to deserve an animation. It really fills in the one-year war. And also, we get a sense that Cassilia Zabi, she seemed to be quite an intelligent member of the Zabi family, because it was her orders to send down Midnight Fenrir down right before the invasion, and also other groups that she also sent down that I've covered in the past, but also Operation Code Fairy. So looking at even the most recent Code Fairy, it's really not far from what we're seeing with all these other Mobile Suit Gundam side stories. And Code Fairy is really just another Zeon-based one when we typically get the Earth Federation. So it's one-year war. We have some custom variations of some mobile suits, and even some of the pilots and some of the mobile suits that are in Code Fairy but were created previously back in the 80s and just reused. And we're seeing the same thing here with Zeonic Front. So really, this just lends to how great Sunrise, Bandai, etc. are about keeping a very cohesive universe when it comes to Mobile Suit Gundam, especially the video games and the animation, how they cross over. It makes it more enjoyable for me. A lot of connections there. But anyway, let me know what your favorite mobile suit was from it. I do like that Dom that had that more Zaku 2 coloring to it. That was pretty cool. I like the Commander type Zaku 1 as well. Reminds me of Azuda. So it's kind of cool to see how there's that similar design there. But also another Gundam. I mean, who doesn't like another Gundam? I know a lot of people, because, it's all about Zeon, right? I think that's what most people are in for. And that's why it's such a great game. It deserves a remake. So anyway, thanks for watching. We'll talk later.